This is John Blanton, and this is a presentation of the North Texas Skeptics, working to help people avoid dumbass mistakes since 1987. Today's topic is anthropogenic global warming, or just global warming for short. Here are some basic facts. Earth maintains a temperature balance due to a number of factors, and here they are. I have a short list. The thermal balance factors are solar flux, nuclear decay, tidal dissipation, and we also have reflective and radiated losses are affected by atmospheric absorption and can be impacted by human activity. Here's the bad news. Human activity supplements long-term changes in biosphere temperatures. The really bad news is global warming can produce a 3 degrees Celsius rise this century. Warming oceans will expand, raising sea level. Melting land ice can raise sea level tens of feet. Worst case is runaway snow melting. Warmer temperatures, less snow, less reflection, warmer temperatures, and on and on. And this can produce catastrophic melting of polar ice. Here's some basic atmospheric facts. You can review these at your leisure. Here are the basic greenhouse gases. Water is really the most prominent greenhouse gas. Then comes carbon dioxide, which is what is mostly affected by human activities. Here is how the greenhouse effect works. Shortwave radiation comes through the atmosphere and is not affected by the greenhouse gases, and it gets absorbed by the Earth's surface, warms the Earth's surface. Earth's surface radiates this energy back out. Also, some of the shortwave radiation is reflected. Long-wave radiation is emitted from the Earth's surface, and it's mostly absorbed by the greenhouse gases. Here's a black body equilibrium, or the principle of black body equilibrium. At the temperature of the human body, 37 degrees Celsius, surface radiates in the 10,000 nanometer wavelength. This is the wavelength that's prominently absorbed by greenhouse gases. Here's a overall illustration of the greenhouse effect, and you can look at this later on, but I've broken it down. Absorbed radiation from the sun is about 235 watts per square meter, and then 168 is absorbed by the surface and 68 is absorbed by the atmosphere. Then from the surface, or from the Earth, 195 watts per square meter is radiated back into space, and 40 is radiated from the surface and into space. On the other hand, 324 of the total is absorbed by the surface. This warms the surface. 492 is radiated from the surface towards space. Of that, 452 is absorbed by the atmosphere, and this gets recirculated, and this is a greenhouse recirculation. Here's basic physics behind greenhouse gas warming. A greenhouse gas such as carbon dioxide matches the energy of the photons in the infrared spectrum and absorbs them. There's a diagram of the relative forcing of different components. Here's a list of the greenhouse gases. You see water is the most prominent, 30 to 72% of the contribution. And here's a table of the lifespan of greenhouse gases. Not shown, the lifespan of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is about 200 years. For methane, it's only about 12 years. For water, it's only just a few days. Here's a table of concentrations. In pre-1750, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was 280 parts per million. It's now really about 400 parts per million, and this has been principally due to human activity. Here's an illustration of the carbon cycle. If you can control the carbon, you can control the carbon dioxide, and this is where the carbon comes from and where it goes. Here's evidence of global warming. This is a chart that goes back to 1880, and it shows that since about 1910, the temperature of the Earth's surface has been more or less steadily increasing and is now at an all-time high. And here is evidence of long-term warming. This goes back 400,000 years. This information is from geological evidence, and it shows that since human activity, since the Industrial Revolution, the CO2 level has increased tremendously. It's higher than it has been in the last 400,000 years. Here's the Keeling curve. It shows the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere since 1959. The small variations are the yearly variations due to plant growth in the northern hemisphere. The black line is the trend, is the yearly trend. Notice that no natural phenomenon is shown here. There are no big spikes that are due to volcanic eruptions and other things. The principal contribution to this carbon dioxide level is human activity. And here is a short essay on human contribution, and you can get that from the link on Wikipedia. Here are some of the consequences. Sea level rise is the worst. There also will be, we expect to be, there to be effects on crops, and also more energy in the air relates to more stormy weather. Some regions could have less rain, some could have more rain. The opposition to the science behind global warming include the following: the Heartland Institute, American Legislative Exchange Council, the petroleum industry, the coal industry, and various political factors. There are paid climate deniers. There are real scientists who do research and publish papers that attempt to dispute the science behind global warming, and here's a case. The real villains are not the oil companies. The real villains are us. We buy the stuff. We use fossil fuels, and if we would stop using them, they would stop being produced. The solution is to stop using fossil fuel. Can't stop pumping oil. For example, there's no such thing as a hybrid jetliner. Jetliners need, for current designs, they need a hydrocarbon-based fuel. Bad solution: ethanol. Hydropower is not a good solution. It's a limited resource. Some good solutions: solar power, 1,000 watts per square meter energy flux from the sun. Wind power is pretty good, and it's becoming competitive. Nuclear power is a good long-term and immediate solution, but it is limited. The uranium source, the source of usable uranium ore, is only for about 200 years. A basic fact: human well-being and health is associated with energy consumption. Individual energy consumption is a big contributor to the quality of life on this planet. Hydrocarbons are an ideal energy storage medium. Ethanol is not. We would source hydrocarbons from natural vegetation. They pull their carbon from the atmosphere, and producing hydrocarbons as a fuel, as a medium of energy storage, has low down channel impact. You don't have to replace all the service stations, for example, but the technology is lacking. To get fuel from plants, the plants have to be harvested for their carbon. Removing the plants also removes the plant nutrients, so there's some backsides, so there's some downsides to that. Arguments against global warming. One is human contribution is insignificant. Others are that global warming is a liberal conspiracy, and another one is that research that promotes the research behind the science of global warming is driven by greed. You can contact us. Here is my email address. This presentation is also available in PDF and PowerPoint at the North Texas Skeptics website shown here. This has been John Blanton speaking for the North Texas Skeptics. Thank you very much.